Yup, I've been got this video, man. Hey, man, we got NBA players that score more points than ever, and the reason why is right in front of our eyes. By Jimmy Roller, man. Hey, man, look, man, y'all know what we came to do, man. Y'all know what we didn't come to do, man. We came in to get straight to the point. What we didn't come to do, man, is all that other stuff, man. With that being said, man, let's get right to the video.
There were 775 30-plus point performances by individual players. In the 2003-2004 NBA season, through the same amount of games, there were only 368 of these same performances.
I know why. Before he even tell it, you wanna know why? It's because they shoot more damn shots.
In a 5-year span from 2011 to 2016, there were only 23 players who averaged 25 points per game or more. In the last 5 seasons, the number of players who averaged 25
it's
points
because they shoot way more shots now.
Exploded to 58. Steve Nash, an offensive juggernaut with an absurd near 50-40-90 career shooting splits, never averaged even 19 points per game in a season. Not even once in 18 years. And yet, all of these players are currently averaging or have averaged 20-plus points per game in a season.
Terrible years,
some
dog.
great players from previous eras in the NBA that have never, ever averaged 20-plus points per game for a season in their entire career. Manu Ginobili, Lamar Odom, Rasheed Wallace, John Stockton, Chauncey Billups, Jason Kidd, Bill Russell, and Robert Parrish. Now sure, some of these players weren't considered scorers, but that's kind of the point. Put these players in today's offensive-heavy, fast-paced league, and most of them become all-time bucket getters.
You know that.
In the last few seasons, the NBA has seen an explosion in scoring. From all-time greats sleepwalking their way to 30 points, to average players putting up career numbers on a nightly basis. 15 years ago, if a player averaged 20 points per game, he was virtually a lock as an all-star, and one of the league's most elite scorers. Now, 20 points a night has basically become the expectation for any solid player. Why is this? Of course, there's some obvious variables that stand out immediately. Lack of defensive effort, faster pace, more threes, but something else is going on, and no one is really talking about it. In 2011, Kevin Durant led the entire NBA in scoring with 27.7 points per game. That season, Durant piled up 29 games with 30-plus points, the most of any player that year. When adjusted to a full season, last year the number of players who had at least 29 30-plus point games was 7. 7 players had more 30-point games last season than a prime KD had in 2011. It's only been a decade since then, and yet players have gotten better, more skilled, more versatile on offense, and getting a bucket has never been so easy. But how and why? Well, last week on the Ringers NBA Show podcast, former NBA player Raja Bell gave great insight as to why we're seeing this offensive outbreak and how exactly this is all happening.
Do you think that NBA defenses have caught up with the
that too.
revolution of
that too.
offenses, or are we kind of like in a college football spread offense, and like there's only so much a defense can do to stop what's happening here?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Hey, great offense beats great defense any day, which is kind of fucked up, bro. You can stick the best defense ever, bro. That man get a good shot up, man. It's over with. Cause the defense, it can't progress no more, bro. But the offense for sure can progress. You hear me? So
offense is way ahead of defense. It's just way ahead of it. Like there's nothing.
And it's like,
you asked me a question, that's why I'm on today. Like, what are you gonna do with Brooklyn? There's no answer for that.
Like, and it's like, what can you do to change the defense? You can't do shit.
They're not gonna put you in predictable actions that you can game plan for, and you're just saying, hey man, you got to be good enough to guard that guy.
Unless they bring back hand checking and shit, but they gonna get used to that too.
What they are, where you're not gonna be able to really.
You can't even hand check no more.
And you know, we used to be able to. I mean, to sound like an old curmudgeon, I'm not complaining about it, but it gave you an opportunity to kind of be physical with the guy at times.
Yeah.
That's stripped away too. So offense is going to be almost impossible to guard if it's just the best players on the ball in space.
As much as we want to blame defensive efforts or the NBA becoming soft or players chucking up threes, Raja is right. Yes, generally speaking, defense has gotten worse over the last decade, but a much more drastic change.
It didn't get worse, it just stayed the same.
Of NBA players, what is valued on the court, and the worst nightmare for some NBA fans, analytics. The average NBA player is far more offensively skilled now than they were 20 or even 10 years ago. 15 years ago, there were only a handful of big men in the NBA who could shoot the ball well enough to not look like.
We got a lot of those. That shit ain't even. I said that, folks.
Most big guys can shoot the ball well enough.
I said that.
Threat from outside 15.
Most of these big men can shoot threes now.
Well, almost.
That's airball.
Almost every big guy.
Yeah, Giannis can shoot though. I don't know why he put this shit. Like Giannis can't pull that bitch.
Who was able to go ISO and create his own shot was worth building a team around. Now, if you can't take your man ISO and give him a hezzy pull-up,
That
you're
shit
getting
tough.
sent to the G League. Defense isn't necessarily terrible. Offense has just become exponentially good. By its very nature, offense is an endlessly expanding set of skills that are constantly being
Look at
invented,
that bullshit.
improved, and explored. Defense, on the other hand, no matter how good it gets, will always be a reactionary task. It is inherently
Damn.
bound to physical and strategical limitations. You can try to stay Kyrie all you want, but eventually you're gonna bite. And when you do, he's gonna make you pay.
Get that,
You can
get your
physical
mind
with
into it.
KD and put a hand up when he
So
shoots,
you can't stop
and
KD,
he's still
bro.
shooting over you every single
With the
time.
hand, you can do this
The saying
all to this
goes,
nigga. That
great
bitch a green,
offense
bro.
beats great defense. And these days, even marginally good offensive NBA players can break down great defenders. The days of non-bucket getting stars are in the past, and a new league that is strictly focused on putting the ball in the hoop with every other aspect of the game being an afterthought is now upon us. And this progression follows the normal
Damn,
path of
bro, they getting
finishing.
their ass
With every
hit.
new era, players learn from their predecessors. They take what works and throw out what doesn't. And slowly but surely, things just improve. But a universal jump in
Okay.
offensive production like this is completely
Damn,
unheard of.
God.
There's been
Man, he talking, man. This nigga just got his ass hit. Bro, stay on your fucking feet, Lord.
things just
We not just gonna
a
avoid that.
universal
You
jump
got him
in
doing that. He
offensive
said,
production
"Yick
like
it,
this is
yick it."
completely unheard of. There's been plenty of innovators
That's
and game
tough.
changers over the years. So why are we seeing this huge change in the game now? Well, not too long ago, this system we call the NBA
Matrix.
came across an anomaly.
We in the
A Neo
Matrix.
in the NBA
sure.
Matrix. A seemingly average man who would accelerate the inevitable evolution of hoops and usher in a new era of basketball. And that man is Joe Ingles.
Oh, blick it.
That anomaly
That
is
man
Steph
is a.
Curry.
Okay,
Now, I know
okay.
this sounds absurd, but
Joe
it's the
Ingles a
cold
bucket, though.
truth we all must come to
Yeah,
accept.
Fly after the video, he gonna be so happy to hear this, but he gonna be nice. Chuck Curry is so inspirational. You already know how he's for the beat, man.
Choose
That's-
great taste
You know,
without the waste. Brita, drink like you can.
nice. Curry's changed the game. He did change it. I can't lie, he did change the game.
Dominance,
Long ass
the league was
threes.
a game of chess, with each piece having
They
a
used to
very
play.
particular
They used to
set
play
of
big
skills.
man. Big man's with the real thing
Basketball
back
was
then.
tactical.
Big man's
That's
ain't
my
really.
spot. I know that's my spot.
Evidable
Now, how
right
can
now.
I get to it? That's my defensive assignment. I can't stop him
Most
on
teams don't even
himself,
run fucking
so how
big
can we
mans no more.
orchestrate the best and most efficient defense to stop him? But after seeing a 6'2" laser-accurate sniper running around screens like a madman and breaking players down off the dribble just to hoist up 30-foot bombs while winning titles in the process, things changed very
Everybody
quickly.
said, "All right, let me learn how to shoot
Seemingly
this damn
overnight,
ball."
the strategy around the league went from specific tasks, all different and unique to specific players, to how do I get better at threes and why didn't I think of this sooner? Just 10 years ago, solid offensive players were sentenced to creating shot opportunities in a set offense, painstakingly working the defense until they found their gaps, moving off the ball until an opportunity presented itself. Put some of these players in today's league and give them the fantastic news that they have the green light to pull up wherever and whenever, and you'd quickly see good players turn into stars. And this revolution in offensive play style inadvertently sparked the boom in positionless
Trae
basketball.
Young.
Because why limit your big
Jokic.
man to going toward down low just to get a contested layup, when you can just spend a couple summers teaching him how to shoot the outside shot and become a threat from deep as well as down low? Why limit your point guard to just distributing the ball when he's by far the best shooter on your team? The idea of positionless basketball has a lot more to do with this influx of scoring than we realize. Back in the late 90s and early 2000s, most players filled a specific role. Defensive stopper, spot-up shooter, pick-and-roll big, rim protector, playmaking wing, pass-first point guard. Most players in the NBA fit within some sort of mold and played within that mold for the majority of their career. It was what they were good at, and it's where they had the most value. But ever since this concept of positionless
That's a
basketball has
blip.
taken over in the NBA right around 2015, or when the Golden State Warriors proved this concept to be a winning form of basketball, most good players have taken leaps and bounds outside of their mold. A lot of players in today's NBA who could give you 20 and 7 using a variety of moves would have never given you the same stat line or productivity in previous eras because they would have been placed within their ideal mold. And the opposite could be said about good players in previous eras. For example, take players like Tony Parker, Steve Nash, Baron Davis, Ray Allen, Marcus Camby, Jermaine O'Neal. The list goes on and on. Great players that played very specific roles in the 2000s but would have been game-changing stat stuffers in today's league. For instance,
Man,
take
Shaq would have
Tony
averaged
Parker.
so many
During his
points,
prime,
man. If this
averaged
man,
18,
what?
6, and
This
3
big
on
ass.
51% shooting from the field on 14.5 shots and 31%
He get his field
from
goal.
3 on 0.9 threes per game. These are good numbers. Not great, but definitely above average. But what if we put a prime Tony Parker in today's NBA? Well, for starters, Parker is shooting way more than 0.9 threes per game. This man peaked just a decade ago, and look at how much the game has changed in that amount of time. Ain't no way he's shooting less than a single 3 a game on average today. In fact, Parker had 6 seasons where he shot over 35% from 3 and 2 seasons where he shot over 40%. Well, in the middle of his prime, Parker was 152nd league-wide on 3-pointers attempted per game. So if we transplant him into 2021, 152nd in 3-point attempts is 3.5 threes per game. Throughout Parker's prime, he was a top 5 scoring point guard in the league for 7 out of 8 seasons. When I think of Tony Parker, I think great player, not necessarily great scorer. But remember, the league was much different 10 years ago. So what does a top 5 scoring point guard look like in today's NBA? Well, Trae Young is averaging 26.6 points per game this season as the league's 4th highest scoring point guard. Last season, Russell Westbrook was the league's 4th highest scoring point guard with 27.2 points per game. And the year before that, it was Kemba Walker with 25.6 points per
Kemba,
game.
bucket.
Out of these 4 guards, take a wild guess at who shoots the ball the best. Old boy Tony Parker. But remember, the pace in today's league is much faster than it was in Tony's prime. So if you take prime Tony Parker and put him in the modern NBA, the offense probably revolves around him as the primary ball handler. He's shooting far more threes, he's one of the most efficient scorers running the point, and instead of averaging 18, 6, and 3, he's averaging something like 25, 7, and 4 on 51, 31, 77 shooting splits. And instead of putting up slightly above average numbers for fans to retroactively judge his value off of, he's now putting up Kyrie Irving type numbers. Same player, different era. Simply put, great players are taking more shots, they have the ball in their hands more
You know,
often, and
CP3
they
a
get to make
bucket,
far
man.
more executive decisions on the
CP3 is a
court than
walking
ever
bucket.
before. Tune into any NBA game and you can see this happen right in front of your eyes. Instead of having a designated point guard bring the ball up, teams are just giving the ball to the best player, regardless of their skill set, and allowing them to dictate the flow of the game. Why on earth is Giannis Antetokounmpo bringing the ball up the court?
Pulling them
Why
threes,
are point
too.
guards now shooting the ball more than shooting guards are? Why is Miles Turner, Serge Ibaka, and DeAndre Jordan all averaging less rebounds than guards like James Harden?
That shit is crazy to me, bro. Why the fuck is point guards, bro? I seen point guards be out rebounding centers now, bro. Like big centers don't really play a role in this NBA no more. If you can't shoot, bro, you're irrelevant. I ain't gonna lie. You gotta be a stretch now, you know, to be
Josh
relevant.
Hart. Because no longer do players just play within their mold. If your best player is a 7-footer with no outside shooting, oh well. Let him bring the ball up and go to work. Best player on the court is a 7-foot sluggish bruiser. Oh well. The man can pass the ball like a point guard. So feed him the ball, drop the offensive sets, and let the man
Jokic is a
Best player
motherfucker,
is
man.
a
I
6
can't
foot,
lie.
170-pound point guard. Forget the mid-range, forget the off-ball stuff. He's excellent at running the pick and roll and letting it fly from 30 feet out. So run the pick and roll and let that thing fly. Now, it sounds naive to assume that good players from the past would adjust their game to the modern NBA, or that they would even want to. But this is a well-documented sentiment among former NBA players. A lot of them wishing they played in an era where their usage would have been through the roof and they would have had the ultimate green light. Here's a clip of Steve Nash explaining to Bill Simmons just how much his game would have changed if he had the opportunity to play within the new confines of the game.
We played a style that was thought to be revolutionary at the time, but really we should have doubled down. And Mike said this before, we should have played faster, we should have played smaller, we should have shot way more threes. We were just playing a style that suited our roster, suited our personnel. It was foreshadowing for the future. You know, the way I would have played.
They didn't shoot that many shots, bro. They missed like 2-3 shots, but they not shooting no more,
as a
bro.
point guard, go 5 for 7, 7 for 10,
Right.
and get all your teammates involved, loving the game, feeling empowered. That's the way I approached the game. So I got more aggressive in the fourth quarter because I'm trying to win the game, but I didn't come out like guns blazing, try to, get 20 in the first half because I didn't think that would do my team any favors. Now we know numerically it just makes way too much sense. And I think there's a balance to be set, but I think I was too conservative shooting the ball. Like I should have walked into way more threes. I should have looked for more threes.
Nash is just one of many players from the past that is confident that he would thrive in today's NBA. Shooters gonna shoot. And in today's league, even non-shooters gonna shoot. Because getting a bucket now reigns supreme over any other skill set in the game. Of course, this has always been the name of the game,
That's a
but
very
recently the
weak
gap
ass
between
shooting
scoring
threes.
the ball and, let's say, playmaking, defense, IQ, spacing, effort, size, and rebounding has only grown larger and larger. Check this out. Can you name the top 10 scorers in the NBA right now? I'm sure most of you can name at least 7 or 8, if not all 10. Now, can you name the top 10 rebounders in the league this season? Well, unless you are consistently checking in on this leaderboard, probably not. Because generally speaking, scoring the ball and having a deep bag of moves to get a bucket now get you far more recognition than anything else. Scoring gets you all-star votes, it gets you attention, appreciation. It's a lot more fun to give your opponent a few fancy moves and put up a three than work the ball around and get a cohesive offensive system going, and arguably more impactful than anything else, getting a bucket gets you paid. This season, the top 15 three-point shooters across the league make on average $24 million, equivalent to the 48th highest paid player in the NBA, which at the moment is Jaylen Brown. In other words, on average,
That's a lot
the
of
top
fucking money.
15 best three-point shooters in the NBA are paid the same as a potential all-NBA talent, which is pretty crazy. For comparison, in the 2011-2012 season, just a decade ago, on average, the top 15 best three-point shooters in the NBA made $7 million, equivalent to just the 92nd highest paid player in the NBA that season, which at the time was Samuel Dallenberg. This is all just a long way of saying today's NBA cares way more about shooting than the NBA did in 2012. Jaylen Brown is a borderline superstar. Samuel Dallenberg averaged 7 and 7
Damn,
a game
Bojan
and
gets
didn't even
17
start half
million?
the time. Getting buckets gets you paid, and in today's NBA, there's no better way to get a bucket than the long ball. And most avid fans already know this. You see it in the numbers, you see it when you watch the games, and yet it's still agonizingly annoying when old heads swear that a good, but not nearly great, player from the 90s and early 2000s would have averaged 30 points.
Imagine Michael Jordan in our era. That nigga would have averaged damn near 7. He would have averaged 50 a game damn near. Oh my God. It was no hand checking, bro. He would have averaged damn near 50, bro.
Points per game in today's NBA. You see it all the time on social media. Some mid-age guys swearing that Peja Stojakovic or Michael Redd or Gilbert Arenas would have averaged a 30 bomb in today's league. But as insane as these guys sound, there's quite a bit of truth to their math.
Bro, that
My new
nigga
money
Michael
goal?
Jordan would
Refinance
have
at a
averaged
lower
damn
rate and
50,
save for a basketball
60,
court in my
bro.
barn.
That man would have
Who's
been
the
a
GOAT
walking
now?
bucket, you hear me?
Discover and compare the smartest credit cards, mortgage lenders, and more, so you can make your money goals happen on NerdWallet.
Madness. Take the three guys I just named. Good players, but for most fans, guys that do not fall in the same tier as the Bradley Beals and Damian Lillards of the world. But what if these guys played in today's league? Well, if you adjust for
Why he ain't said Michael Jordan?
adjust their shot selection to match shot selection of current NBA players, and adjust their usage to their modern day counterparts, their prime numbers would look something like this. From good numbers to first ballot Hall of Fame numbers. Now, I'm not trying to knock some of today's talent, but if guys like Bojan Bogdanovic and Colin Sexton average 20 plus points per game, just imagine what sharpshooting bucket getters like these guys would do in today's ultimate.
Damn, what about Michael Jordan, folks?
So, what do you get when you have a league that prioritizes shooting and scoring far more than anything else? A league blindsided by an anomaly of a player years ahead of
Niggas
its
just
time,
ran off.
sees a massive influx of players doing their best impersonation of this anomaly, and a league that drops all notions of positions and specific roles in favor of just letting players do what they do best. You get today's NBA. The latest version of a constantly evolving game that has reached its most skilled and productive interpretation ever. Players are doing things that have never been done before. Effort and intensity on the defensive end is at an all-time low, and points seem to be easier and easier to come by.
That's Taylor?
this season,
My dog,
partially
Taylor.
because of this lack of defensive effort, but also because offensive bags are deeper now than ever.
Damn.
And every player, from the superstars to the rotational guys, have a full arsenal of moves ready to unleash on their opponent at any moment. Many former, extremely skilled players that have been lost in the shuffle over time would have put up video game numbers in today's league. But instead, they played in an era where only the very best got to eat every night, and the rest of the league was condemned to play within a system that demanded a very specific task of them. And rarely was that task to go ISO every other possession and drop 30 points. So I'll leave y'all with this. Remember the days when crazy high-scoring games were a rarity? When a team
That
scored
shit happened in the
130
regular
points in
life.
a game was a crazy stat line that usually came from some double overtime thriller? Well, those days are long gone. 130 points is the new 100 points. And to illustrate just how insanely easy scoring has become for NBA teams, here is a graph showing how many 130-plus point performances NBA teams put up each season dating back to 2000. And it may just blow your mind. Enjoy. And as always, until next time.
When I seen that Knicks and that damn, I think it was the Knicks and some other team, when the Rose first went to the Knicks, bro, when I saw that they both scored like 90 points, bro, what the hell is this, bro? Damn, oh my God. Hell no, fool. That's tough, my nigga. Oh shit. That's the end of the video, man. Y'all be smooth, be easy, man. Keep y'all head up, man. I love y'all.